Hi, I'm Chris Ritchie with Magic Maker Studio, and today I'm bringing you a video sponsored by Evoto. The video is the behind the scenes look at the making of our iconic sled image. First, let me tell you a little bit about us and the Magic of Santa. We started the Magic Santa over 11 years ago, and we have served over 1,300 clients in our private 45-minute session. The sled image has been historically one of our most popular images. So today we're going to show you how Evoto is a major part of that workflow, as well as how we use Lightroom and Photoshop to completely finish out the image. So first, I'm going to just tell you briefly a little bit about myself. I started my career as a photographer over 20 years ago as an editorial photographer. I photographed for a magazine. I have probably 150 cover images and thousands of published images. But about 11 years ago, I was just burned out on doing editorial, and I wanted to do something more creative. I've always been inspired by Norman Rockwell's work. I got Boys Life magazine as a kid when I was in Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout, and I just loved the Americana, the style, the characters, the fun of all of those images. Additionally, I always loved Thomas Kincaid. So when I decided to start doing Magic of Santa, I already knew the style of editing because I'd done a lot of that when I was with the magazine, the whole Norman Rockwell look. So it was an easy transition for me to move over and create that look with the Magic of Santa. Plus added the storytelling, just made it something that I just absolutely love. So over the years, we have evolved and gone through our workflow. And today, like I said, we're just going to show you a little behind the scenes of how we make one of our famous images. What I want to share is what's been a game changer for us is how we use Evoto. So let me just show you a client's files real quick. All right. So I've got here our library for this year, and I'm going to open up one of our clients, and we're going to edit their sled image here real time. I'm going to scroll down. They've been a client for about 5 or 6 years. And so this would be all of their raw files. As you can see, we shot 167 files, actually more than that, 167 plus 52 plus 17. So there's 69 plus 167. That's not uncommon. You can see the number of images that we take per session. And what we show our clients is somewhere usually between 50 and 70 images. The one thing that Evoto has really been a game changer and really helped our sales is once I go through and I pick the images that I want to show that client in an in-person sales session, that's my wife does those. I run all of those images through Evoto before I show them to the client. We purchase the annual plan, so it ends up costing us about 6 cents an image. So for 70 images, we're looking at what, $4.20. Why is that important? Because mom looks great. Hair looks great. Double chin, glasses flare, bags under the eyes, perfect skin retouching. All of that is done on 70 images. To do it on 10 or 12 images to the level that we used to have to do that, it would have taken hours just for 10 or 11 images to go in and touch all of those up. Now we do it in seconds. We have seen a dramatic increase in sales because we are showing our clients images that have gotten at least some level of editing. So I'm going to show you here how we do what we do. Let's do this first. Let me show you in Evoto what we do. I've got the images here. Let me reset them. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to jump over here into Evoto, and I will show you with a straight from the camera image like this, how you can get the same thing that we do in Evoto, just to give you a quick demonstration of all of that. And then I'll go through my exact workflow. I'm going to come over here to Evoto. And I am going to create a new project. Let me delete this project so it doesn't get confusing. All right, so now I'm going to create a new project. I am in the library mode, and I'm going to put BTS, the iconic sled image with, not equals, how about a with Evoto. So what I'm going to do is just show you what I do with the raw file. That's not my workflow, but I just wanted to show you how you can do the exact same thing with Evoto. And ignore those files. Those are what's created by Evoto when they duplicate the file with AI. So now you're seeing here the straight from the camera, right? In these images, These aren't my competition images. These are my Santa images. I'm looking for a fairly even light, almost a flat light. The light does go from left to right, but almost flat lighting so that I can light anyone in the scene very well, whether there's one child or whether there's a family of 8. I've got good lighting across the entire image. That's more important to me in these images than a dramatic artsy style of lighting. So the first thing that we have to do is what I call open the image up. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to scroll down, click fit. There we go. I'm going to scroll down to the basics. First thing I'm going to do is adjust my white balance. For some reason, my camera had it at the wrong setting. I'm going to put it at 5,600. That's what my lights were set at. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do what we call open the image up. I'm going to move the highlight slider to the left. It's somewhere around 77, minus 77. It's fine. Then I'm going to move the shadows to the right. You can see I'm bringing in shadow detail. So the reason that we do this in the painterly style of images, this is a very popular technique. What we're trying to do is show a bigger dynamic range, just like a painting has. So if an artist is painting a landscape, you'll see details in the clouds and the whites, but you'll also see details in the shadows, maybe shade under a tree, but your camera can't capture that typically. So this is the first step in creating a painterly style image. That's the number one thing that I'm going to do. If I was not running a whole batch of image, I would come down here to detail and I would turn on AI denoise. It takes a minute for the image to be analyzed. And what you're going to see here is it's going to create a duplicate file. So for me, this doesn't work in my workflow because I would do this to 70 images and I don't need 70 duplicate files. The other thing that it doesn't do right now is if I can't select the first image through that, select all of them and sync that denoise to all of the 65 images I'm going to show that client. That option's not there in Evoto. I'm working with them, talking with them. So we'll see. I'm hoping that's a change that they do make, right? So the other thing that I would do here, if it were me, now that I've got the denoise and everything checked, that's really about all I'm going to do here. That there's some other steps in Photoshop that we're going to do, but I need an image that is opened up and the skin and everything looks good so that I can do all my crazy editing to the rest of the scene. I'll give you a little secret. I'm hoping that it happens. We had a conversation with Evoto last week with their development team. I'm working on a technique where we could do that in Evoto and not have to create 2 images, where we could basically create a reverse mask where I could select the skin or whatever else I didn't want. And then I could create my Magic of Santa style to the entire rest of the image, but not have it affect the skin. That's easy to do in Photoshop. And after meeting with them, they like that idea. So we'll see. Hopefully that's something that's coming. So now I'm going to jump over here into the skin touching. Let me move that grid so you can make sure you see everything that is here. I typically will turn the freckles up and I have all of this in a preset. I'll show you that here in a few minutes. I'm going to pull freckles and acne down just a little bit. I'm going to reduce face shine in places we've got some hot areas. I'm definitely going to reduce dark circles. We're going to bring that up a little bit. I want to remove eye bags. I don't mind if this gets a little bit what I call over processed. I'm fine with that in the industry. We're doing a painterly style image, so the skin needs to look a little bit of painterly. I'm going to turn remove glass flare up to 100%. We're going to do that. We're going to adjust the wrinkles a little bit. We're going to definitely move that double chin way up. Okay. Now, every now and then we get a look up here where it's not hitting those glasses. Oh, and I know why. Okay. So this is a mistake. It's not an uncommon mistake. You got to click all. I did not do that. Click all. And now I've got to come back in here and do that setting to everyone. Now we saw the glasses disappear. So I've got the same setting, but I have all checked right here, all for my subjects. I'm want to do a global edit to all of the people in the scene, whether it's mom, dad, or whoever. I'm not selecting female, child, whatever. For me, for Magic of Santa, I select everyone. Same settings. We'll reduce forehead wrinkles a little bit, 11 lines. Eye wrinkles a little. I don't want to remove too much. We don't want to make Santa look like he's 10. Remove body blemishes. There's not a whole lot of that. Neck. I'm not worried about armpit here. Skin retouching. We're going to even with dodge and burn a little bit. We're going to sculpt with dodge and burn a little bit. Skin softening just a touch. Go ahead and even out dodge and burn here. A touch of skin softening. Like I said, I don't mind going a little bit above and beyond. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to unify the face, unify body, and then unify body here as well. That way their feet and hands and everything will match. I'm not going to worry about facial retouch. Where with skin radiance, I will turn the skin radiance up a little bit. That really does help with their faces popping in the image. I'm going to jump over here to teeth. We will do a small amount of teeth flaw and a tiny amount of whitening. Then I'm going to come into eyes. I'm going to bring the brightness up just a little bit. I'm not going to go too crazy. Maybe just a touch more. And I like, that's good. That looks pretty good. Hair, I'm definitely going to touch up the hair. I want to remove stray hairs. I'm going to take that up to about 80. And I'm going to smooth the hair. I'm going to turn mine up to, well, let's just say 45. Not real picky here, but this gives us our painterly look. The only other thing that I could do back up here in skin is maybe add a touch of clarity. Let's see, that'll give us a little bit of skin pores. And I actually do like to have satin check. So it does provide a little dimension in the face. Turn up my clarity just a little bit. And now we can see the difference. We've opened up the image and we've touched up their skin. And that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to click fit. Now, if I wanted, I could save this preset. I'm going to put it in my Magic of Santa group. I'm going to call this one BTS, the sled. Right? Boom, click save. If I wanted to crop the image there, I could. Now what I would need to do is come over here and hold the shift button. I'm going to select my blank. My blank is the image that I took. When I create this image, it's important to know I shoot on a tripod. I'll shoot them here. And as we may have discussed, then I shoot a blank at the exact same angle because I have to lay those on top of one another to remove the sawhorses. So now that I've got this selected and I hit shift, I can sync that. I'm going to select all and I'm going to click sync. Now, the only thing that doesn't sync, if we come over to the blank, we go to details. But I thought of one other thing that I did not check, and I'll go back and check that. I got to come back over here. Details, AI denoise was not turned on. So now it's going to do that, and it's going to create a duplicate file. Like I said, I'm just showing you that you can do the same things in Evoto that I do in Lightroom. I just choose to do them a little bit different. So the only other thing that I didn't do is I forgot to turn on de-wrinkle clothing. I'm going to turn that up pretty high. Boom. Right. And I am going to now sync that with this. And then I would come back over here and I would probably save this preset again into MOS. And I'm going to title this BTS, the sled, final. So I don't believe there's any other things that I need to do on that. Right. So there you go. That's how you can do everything that I'm about to show you in Evoto. We've touched up the skin and everything. And now these images are ready. One, they're ready to export as a JPEG and show the client. That's what we can do. Or we can jump onto the editing. Right. So now I'm going to close out of Evoto. I'm going to jump back over into Lightroom and I'm going to start how my workflow works. So as I jump into here, the first thing that I would probably do would be to crop the image. And we could have done that in Evoto. I'm going to crop the image here. And then I'm going to click my MOS 2025 update. I would normally do that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just show you the settings. I'm going to open the highlights. I'm going to open the shadows or recover the highlights, open the shadows. We talked about that. I want to make sure that for me, my white balance needs to be somewhere right around 5,600. So I cropped it. Looks good. These are the settings that are here. That's really about it in Lightroom. Now I would come over here. Where's my denoise? I'm going to turn on my denoise. And this is the part that I'm hoping that when we work with Evoto some more, that they can make a slight change or at least give me the option to do it the way that it works for my workflow, since I'm having to do this to do a batch of images. Right now, you can't batch sync the AI denoise in Evoto. But the one thing I love about Evoto is is they do make a lot of changes when they see that there is a need for that. And they're very responsive. Okay. So if I wanted, I could save this preset, come over here, new, where is it? Create a preset. I'm going to call this BTS, the sled. Boom. I've got everything clicked here. I'm going to save it in my Magic of Santa group and I'm going to click create. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sync this. So I've select shift. I've selected the next image and I click sync, check all, including crop, because I cropped that image. I need my blank. And now what it's going to do, it's going to take about 20 seconds for the AI denoise to work on each image. So if I was doing this for all the client images that I was going to show in that gallery, knowing that I'm going to show her about 70 images, we know that's going to take somewhere around 10 or 12 minutes for it to sync this. That's before we export it. Okay, so we'll give it just a second. Now these images both match all the settings. The crop matches perfect. You can see that. So now I'm just going to export these. And I've not ran Evoto on these images. So it's important to remember that. I already did an export while ago testing, so I'm going to choose to export them to that same folder. I'm going to export and I'm going to overwrite them. And remember, this is my workflow. So they've not gone into Evoto yet. Now that's interesting. I don't know why it did that error. Let's see if it put them in here. We're going to try this again. I'm going to actually put them in a new folder. Let's just see what's here. I'm going to call this O2B just so I have a different one. Here we go. And let's export these. Okay. So for what is probably a permissions issue or something going on here. That's why I did not like those. All right. Let me just clear these out. And it may not. That's fine. There's some permission issues going on with Lightroom. All right. So now I've got both of these images here. Now I really don't need to run the background image through Evoto. I usually run it just in case it does change anything. So now I'm going to come over here to Evoto. And just so I've got a clean slate, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to delete this. So what I would do is if I was working on that image for the client, I would create a new project. I'm going to call it BTS Sled. Click create. I'm going to import those images that we just captured right here or that we edited in Lightroom. Open these up. Now I've already opened up the image. I've already done all of those things. So we're going to skip that part. But what I am going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click all, right? I want to do all. I have a preset over here. I have my Magic of Santa, where is it? Magic of Santa all is the one that I run. I can click on that. I'll just click on it and then you will see the changes that it does. I'm going to click fit. And you see the changes, everything was made. Then I'll just go through and show you my settings, right? So that was selected. It should have had all selected. And it did because you can see it affected Santa. But as I go through here, you can see my settings that I've done. My freckles and acne are at 39, freckles and acne is at 100. I've reduced the face shine. I've reduced dark circles. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull up eye bags on this one. For some reason, that was not done. We want to remove a little bit of those eye bags for mom and dad and such, as well as Santa. I've got double chin selected. You see my settings there. I don't worry too much about forehead wrinkles. If you want to, you can bump these up a little bit. That's not going to hurt anything. Body blemishes, I've got that up a little bit. So I'm not worried about armpits. We don't have many sleeveless during Santa sessions. Facial skin, you can see my settings here. Even with dodge and burn, sculpt with dodge and burn. Got a little bit of textured smoothing, frequency separation I'm not using. I've got skin softening turned up a little bit, and that's okay because I am wanting to have a more painterly look. I'm going to put it on satin so it gives me a little bit of a shine. I am going to go ahead and turn the clarity up a little bit. If I go crazy with the clarity, you can see that on their skin, it starts to create texture. That is not a bad thing sometimes. So depending on what image I'm editing, so I'll add just a little bit of clarity so we've got some skin texture, but I am wanting a painterly style in these images. All right. And let's scroll down. Where is, I missed one. I know I missed one. Skin radiance was here somewhere. I always forget where it is. Let's see if we can find skin radiance. Got unified, turned on. Here's skin radiance. And you can see where I do have skin radiance turned up to about 40. It just makes the skin a little bit brighter. So I don't have to worry about that brightening the skin. That's been a big bonus for me right there. Just that. Eyes brighten. You can see where I have my eyes settings. I've got that at 78. You know, I pull it down just a little bit, but I'm liking the way this looks here. Now, I know we're not really doing any of that for the blank, but that's okay. I'm going to come over here and show you the other setting that I do is I've got de-wrinkle clothing turned on and fine wrinkle removes. You can see in Santa's suit, maybe it removed a little bit too much. If you want to move it down, you know, adjust it yourself to where you feel it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and sync this here. I know there's no people in there, but just in case something changed a little bit through that process, I want it to work on both images. All right. So now I have ran Evoto on these images, on these raw files. The only thing left for me to do is export these. I'm going to do a custom export and I'm going to put them in a Need Action Ran folder. So I'm going to click specific folder, and this is how I have it set up. I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to click there. I'm working on getting back to this folder here. So I'm going to put a new folder here called O2 editing. Well, let's just call it actually let's call it 00 editing, just so it shows up at the top. Click create. And I'm going to click here. And actually, I'm going to do a specific folder again. I'm in this editing. I'm going to click new folder 01 Need Action Ran. I'm going to click create because I have built an action that creates my heavily painted style. Open. I'm doing these 100% as a JPEG, and I've got them sharpened for screen. I don't feel like I need to sharpen a little bit, but I'm okay with that. I'll click export. Now, when you're syncing, I want to make sure y'all know something. If you're syncing a bunch of images and you select the first one and then you watch the little wheel run, you're waiting for it to sync, to export, you don't have to. Once you hit sync, I'll wait a second or two, and then I click export. That'll get the process going a little further. That is how I use Evoto in my business for Santa. It's important to remember, we run every image through Evoto, whether they purchased it or not, before it goes into in-person sales. Then when I go to editing, I've already ran it through Evoto, so I don't have to do this process here because I've already got that image ran through Evoto, right? So now we've got a great clean image. Evoto has done its job. It made my sale bigger by showing all of those edited images, or what I call the basic edits to the clients. Now I'm going to show you how we create the sled, how we make it fly, and the advanced edits in Photoshop. So I'm going to quit Evoto. And now we're going to go back over here, and I'm just going to look in Finder. And we're going to jump over to, let's see, where is it? No. You think I know what I'm doing, but I don't. There we go. We're going here, and we are going here. All right, editing, Need Action Ran. Okay. But what I got to do before I run the action is I need to remove, oh, what the heck? I didn't mean to do that. That's all right. I actually put it in a new folder. I meant to open with Photoshop. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. So before I can run the action, what I have to do is I have to make the flying sled disappear. I'll come over to my blank. I'm just going to click and drag with the mouse, drag over to this tab, hold the shift button down, and it drops over the top of the other image. As you can see it here, right here. I'm going to rename this one to blank, just so it makes sense to you guys. Now that is my blank. And I'll be honest, it seems like I'm doing a lot and this is taking forever. If I'm not talking or teaching, I can do this really, really fast. Matter of just minutes. That's the great thing that Evoto has helped with. So I've got my blank. Now I'm going to add a mask to it. I'm going to click down here. What I say is the little camera button. It's a square with a hole in it. Then I'm going to select the mask, not the layer. I'm highlighting the mask. On a Mac, I'm going to hit Command I. I'm just going to fill it with black. That made this, what I call the blank layer, my blank, disappear. Now, when I select a brush, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to select my soft round brush, and I'm going to make sure it is white. You see here on the color palette, that's your foreground color, that's your background color. I'm going to hit the letter X on my keyboard, and now my color is white. So now what it's doing, it is revealing what is underneath this layer. So this layer is the blank layer. This is the background. So as I paint with white, it reveals what is underneath. Okay. So we are just going to start doing this. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. It is revealing what is on this layer, not what's underneath. What's underneath is them. It's revealing. Oh, and I just made a mistake. It painted black. I'm going to hit Command Z because I was painting on the layer. I meant to paint on the mask. What it's doing now, it's revealing what is on this layer. So it covers up that layer. You can see there, I'm revealing by painting here, I'm revealing whatever is on this layer, right? So now all I have to do is paint, basically. And I use a Wacom Cintiq, and sometimes I use my mouse, but I've got a pen that I can actually draw on my computer screen with. If you're not familiar with the Cintiq, look it up. Makes it a lot easier. I'm using my brush directly on the screen, not on a tablet next to the screen. For me, it's much more accurate and faster. Okay, so we're just going to paint. We're going to remove all of that sawhorse. And it's just revealing what was behind there. And that's why you want these layers lined up. Okay, looks like I removed a little bit too much. I removed part of the sled. So I'm painting in black to bring this back. There we go. That looks pretty good. And you're not going to see this with a lot of fine detail, but that's good. Okay, that's looking pretty good. All right, I see a little thing right there in blue. We'll fix that. So now as I look at this, and I turn this off and on, you can see where I have erased, and I see a little bit of it still right here. See, putting that back. So I'll erase a little bit more of that sawhorse that's showing up. And as I turn this off and on, I'm looking to see if there's any place that is saw. Maybe I'll take that shadow off the chair a little bit. Now you can see why we don't want Santa's feet underneath the sled, because we would remove that. If there was a person standing over here, right? If there was a person standing over here in the image, then I can just paint over here and they'll disappear. Doesn't hurt having that there, right? So I'm good. I like the way that looks. Command E will flatten that. Now I'm ready to run my painting preset. So I'm going to come over here to my actions, and a neat action ran. I'll run this in a batch. I'm just going to show y'all what I do. I have two versions of it. I've got a merge and a non-merge. I'm going to run the merged version. I'm going to click play. I run my images in a batch as part of my workflow. I'm not going to give away all the details of my entire workflow. If you want that, sign up for my Magic of Santa Bootcamp. It's in July. It runs 5 weeks. We teach every aspect of the Santa business. When you're done with it, you can go into the Santa business. So what I've done is I've ran an action that I built, and it's created all of these layers here. And I'm going to rename this one here. This is oil paint 1. This year, normally I name them oil paint 1. This one is going to be oil paint 2. I'm not going to go too much into detail in this. I believe this was my surface blur. And I will show you what I do here. This is my diffusion, or we're going to call this my high pass invert layer. So as you can see, now we've kind of created that, what I call my little bit of my Norman Rockwell look. I'm clicking off and on so you can see the difference, but I don't like that it's on their faces. So what do? I'm going to turn this background layer off just so you can see. I've grouped everything in a folder, and I put a mask on the top of the folder. Remember, if we paint with a black brush, it will hide anything on that layer. So see what it's doing? Now we're hiding the face. We want to remove that look, that overly textured look and everything from their skin. I'm doing with a feathered brush. It's okay if you go outside the lines a little bit. I'll show you another little secret that we can do. See, now you see when I turn that layer on, we see everything. If I come over here and I go select subject, now I don't have to worry about it. Now I can come back over here and click on that mask, and I don't have to worry about painting outside the lines. I can paint here and remove that. Now, sometimes I will remove this painterly layer from Santa's fur and his shirt because maybe it starts to look too dingy or something like that. So I'll just go ahead, for the sake of this demonstration, move it there. I'm going to hit Command D to deselect all of this. And so now you can see the areas where I've removed everything. Not a big deal that I removed some down there. You're never going to notice it. So now we've got our painterly look. If that's too painterly for me, so maybe it's showing up too smudgy here, I can always reduce the opacity of that entire group down to 70% or something like that. Okay. So now I'm going to just show you, I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to show you a little bit about, I've never shown this outside of someone who's paid for a class. I'm going to show you a little bit of the techniques that I do to create that look. First thing I'm going to do is duplicate this layer. Then I'm going to go to Filter, Camera Raw. And we're going to do the same thing that we did in Lightroom or Evoto earlier. I'm going to open the highlights. I'm going to recover highlights, open shadows. But here's the big difference. I'm going to crank up the clarity as much as you like for your style. I'm not worried about the skin. I've got my Evoto layer on the bottom layer that I can always show the skin. So I'm wanting this crunchiness. That creates depth and texture in the image. Okay. So I've got that. I'm good. Now I might even do that again. So maybe I'll duplicate this. So I'm going to call this my camera raw. Maybe I want to do it again. I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to come up here to filter, camera raw filter, and maybe let's make that extra crunchy again. We're going to crank that clarity up. Maybe we open the highlights and the shadows a little bit more, and we're going to add even more clarity. That's okay. This is how you do your style. So now we've got two of those. I'm fine with that. Now what I'm going to do though, is I'm going to duplicate this layer. And now we're going to go into an oil paint layer. I'm going to go to Filter, Stylize, Oil Paint, and this is where you play around. I'm going to do the stylization at 2.0, 2.0, 2.0, and 2.0, and click OK. And as you can see, that probably didn't do a whole lot, but we did get it to start to look a little bit creamy looking. Okay, well, maybe I'm good with that. Or what if I want to back it down a little bit? Well, let's say I back that down a little. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. But now I want to get more extreme. I have to duplicate those bottom two layers, because if I just duplicate this layer, I'll show you, it has a 70% opacity to it. So it's just not going to have the full effect, because that's all I want to show in the look. So I'll take that layer and this layer here, select them. I'm going to hit Command J to duplicate them. Then I'm going to merge them. I'm going to do a keyboard shortcut. I hit Command E. I think on a Windows it's Control. So now I'm going to do, this was my oil paint 2.0. Now I'm going to do my oil paint. I'm going to do this one at 4.0. Right. So now I'm going to go to Filter, Stylize, Oil Paint, and we'll go with 4, 4, 4, and 4. And I'm going to click OK. Now you see things really got crazy with the texture. So that's maybe too much. I'm going to back that down a little bit. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. All right. So that's looking pretty good to me. I've gotten that look. I'm not worried about skin. Now, since I've got that backed down, I need to take all 3 of these layers, because none of them are at 100% until I get here. So now I'm going to give it my diffuse look. I'm going to select those 3 layers. I'm going to duplicate them. Now I'm going to hit Command E to merge those together. Now I'm going to provide that extra smooth, creamy, a little bit of a signature look to some of my images. I'm going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. I've got it set at 12. That's a common number. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change my blend mode to soft light. Well, it looks really sharp right now. That's the way you can sharpen image. But if I invert that layer, watch what happens. I'm going to hit Command or Control I. Now we've got this nice softness to it. I'm going to back that down somewhere around 55%. And let's see how I like the way that looks. Yeah, I kind of dig that. This is where you get to decide how much you like. Perfect, right? So now what I would do, I'm going to turn on my background layer, but you see that's too much and you see how the skin doesn't look that great. I'm going to select all of those layers with the exclusion of my background layer. That's my Evoto layer. Now I'm going to hit Command or Control G, and this is where I would call that stylize. And I would put a mask on it. And now what we do, if you remember, now we remove this from their skin. And boom, there is your Evoto layer perfectly touched up. I don't worry about feathering it. That's okay. Move it from their foot. Maybe we remove it, from Santa's fur because it looks a little bit dingy. Or maybe that's too much. I'm going to hit Command Z, Command Z. Maybe I'll reduce that opacity to that brush to 46%, and we'll leave some of that painterly look there. Great. I'm good with that. So I'm going to delete this one here. I'm going to delete that group because that's the one that I ran my action on. We're just going to go with this one that we just created. All right. So the next step that we do in this image is we want to kind of create the overall mood of the image, and we want to reconstruct the lighting. This is where we kind of get into the Thomas Kincaid look, the start of it. So I take a curves layer and I hit curves, and I will just drag that down. I'm going to make it just a little bit darker than I would ever have the image right there. I'm going to come back and I'm going to call this dark or darken. Then I'm going to duplicate it by hitting Command J, or I could just come back down here, do another curves layer. Now I'm going to bring this up quite a bit. And now I'm going to call this one lighten. Lighthg, and lighten. But I'm going to turn that layer off for now by adding a black mask, filling it with black, or just hitting Command I. Now we've just got the darken layer sitting here. So now I'm going to reduce the opacity of this darken layer to about the overall mood that I want of the image. That's pretty good. But I don't want it dark everywhere. So I know that I want it to be brighter over here on the fireplace. I'm going to turn my brush up to 100%. I don't want it to be quite so dark on them. So I'm going to take it off of them. I don't want it dark on my lantern that we're going to light. I don't want the Christmas tree dark. I know that we've got some candles going in right there. Yes, there's the candle behind Santa. And we've got these candles over here. Right? That's pretty good. Right? So that I'm okay with that for now. I might want Santa and them to be a little bit brighter. We can adjust that. Or if we want to right now, I can select this black mask. I need my background color to be my foreground color. So I'll hit X. I'm going to reduce the opacity of this brush down to about 14%. And I'm going to click over here. And as you can see, I just brightened them up a little bit. I'm not going to worry about brightening the candles and the trees yet because I don't know where I want to be there. So now I'm going to put these two in a group, selecting them both, hit Command G, Control G, and I'm going to put dark lighten. And I should spell it right. Dark lighten. Okay. And now you can see how we've totally re-engineered the lighting. And we may need to adjust this a little bit. That's totally up to you guys. That's looking pretty good right there. All right. So now what do we need to do? Well, I'm not going to add the magic now. What I think I want to do now is I want to light the candle. So how do we light the candles? Okay. So you could go to, first we need a real flame on the candles. So I already went to Adobe Stock just to show you guys, and I'm going to open that with Adobe Photoshop. This is pretty simple. I'm going to grab this one first for the lantern. I like that. I'm going to select it on this layer. Then I'm going to right click and I am going to layer via copy. Now I've got that layer there. We're going to call this lantern flame. And now I'm just going to hit Command C. I'm going to come over here. I don't need that image anymore. I'm going to hit I'm going to come up here, select my top layer, Shift Command V, and it put that there, right? Now that's going to go down here on this candle. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to roll this around. We want to light that up here. Now I could have to cut that out and all that stuff. No, we don't want to do that. So we're going to come over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change the blend mode to screen. So now that anything that is 50% gray or darker is going to disappear. Right. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put this lantern light where that little wick is. And if I wanted to get picky, I could come in here and erase part of that where it is right there. And there we go. That looks pretty good. If I wanted to manipulate it a little bit more, I could distort it. And I could come in here and move this around. Come on, distort for me. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to distort. Or I'm sorry, warp. I was doing the wrong thing. I could warp it, bend that so it matches perfect. You're not going to need to get that close because now we're going to have to add some light because that doesn't look like a real candle. I mean, that does look like it's a real flame and maybe it's a little bit big. That's okay. We're going to come over here and select it. We're going to make it just a little bit smaller. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a new layer, click new layer, the little plus sign, select my brush. I'm going to click on the foreground color and I'm going to pick a color in that front flame. Pick that color there. Now I'll admit, guys, I'm colorblind. So I can't tell if that's a green, yellow, or the correct color. So why would I always check with my wife? Hey, can you come look at this? Make sure it's the wrong color. So if this looks weird and green right now, it's because she's not here to proof me. And that's okay. I'm going to call this small glow because I would double check this with her before I finalized it. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to turn my brush up to 100%. I'm going to make this, and this is where a lot of photographers get in trouble. They'll do this here and they will then just reduce the opacity. And it's got this weird looking haze to it. You don't want to do that. This is where you want to change your blend mode. The blend mode that I like to do is soft light. Now it looks like a true glow. Okay, so that's a start. That's my small glow. If I title that small glow, that means I'm probably going to have a large glow. I'm going to change this to large glow. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there for a second. So before I take it out of that blend mode, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger right there. Now I can see the spread very easily. Now I'm going to come in here to soft light and I've got my lantern glowing. Now, what if you wanted this brighter? Well, you can't get it any brighter because I got it at 100%. Sure you can. Duplicate it. So select that layer, duplicate it, and now it's gotten brighter. And so now I can reduce this down, that top layer down, because maybe I wanted it a little extra bright. Oh, that's pretty good right there. Now I'm going to select those 4 layers. I'm going to hit Command G, and we're going to call this lantern light. But before I'm done with that, I'm going to come back in. Now I'm going to select all of these and I'm going to chain those together just in case I decide I never need to move my lantern light. Watch, it all moves together. Okay. Now I've just got to do the same thing with my candles because we're getting really close to having a great image here. Come over here. I'm going to select a different candle flame. Let's just say I like this one. So I'm going to select this back layer. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to right click layer via copy. Now I'm going to take this and hit Command C or Control C. I'm going to come over here, Shift Command or Control V. Now I've got this flame here. So I'm going to call this candle flame. Remember, now we're going to put that in screen and it disappear. That's fine. Now we're just going to adjust this so it fits. I'm going to rotate it a little bit and we're going to make this smaller so that we can put it right here on top of this candle. Right there. And maybe I want to erase part of it just to make this a little smoother right here. There, that's pretty good. Right? Maybe it's a little big. It's fine. We can resize it. And then we're going to repeat the process. And as you can see, we've got a lot of candles, but let me show you what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. That seems pretty natural. I'm going to zoom out, Command 0. Let's see how that plane looks. Yeah, that looks pretty natural. Now I'm going to come back over here, just like I did with that other candle. I'm going to add me a new layer. I'm going to select my color. I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to pick a color in here that I like. Let's try that color. It's a little bit different than the oil lamp. We're going to call this small glow. I'm going to take my brush at 100%. Right. I use the brackets to make my brush smaller and larger. Okay. We're going to change the blend mode to soft light. And if I don't think that glow is enough, how do we make it brighter? We duplicate it by hitting Command J. There. Now we've got a good brightness. Now I'm going to take another layer and we're going to make our large glow. Okay. And now I'm going to come over here. Yes, we're going to get it on her, and that's okay. I'll show you how we fix that. Then I'm going to take that blend mode, make it soft light, and now we've got a glowing candle. If I wanted to make it even a little bit bigger, I could. There we go. I like that. Now I'm going to select all 4 of these. I'm going to chain them together. Now I'm going to create me a folder, Command G, candle left. Now I need a candle over here on the right. Okay, so I'll just duplicate this. Command J, candle left copy. I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm going to put that about where I think that candle needs to be. Don't worry. I know it's on top of Santa right there. And I'm going to call this candle right. Okay. Now we need 5 candles over here. We're not going to go through that whole process. We're just going to take this one and duplicate it. Command J, come over here and drag it over here. Now we're going to put that candle here. Now, what I know from experience is if I leave that candle that bright, by the time I add 5 of them to that spot in the image, it's going to be way too bright, right? So I'm going to double click which one. I'm going to move that to the top because I've got these candles over here. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm probably going to turn off, or at least I might even unconnect these. I'm going to delete the large glow. I'm going to add a new folder, a new layer called large glow. I'm going to stay with the same color, but I'm going to make this large glow not as large as the one that was there. I want this one a little bit smaller, maybe somewhere in here. I want to get that a little more centered. And I'm going to put that in soft light blend mode. Okay. So I'm good with that there. I think I am. We're going to select that. Now I'm going to come over here and rename this one Candle 1. Now I'm going to duplicate it, and I chain those together. I'm going to duplicate that, Command J. I'm going to click on that little square so I can move the entire group. Now I'm going to move that there. Hit Enter. Now I'm going to hit Command J, click on that little square, this little square right here. That selects the whole thing. Then I can move it over here. I'm going to select this, Command J. Oop, it didn't delete, it didn't duplicate. Command J, it did there. Move this over here. Duplicate it again, Command J. Let's see. Let me make sure it didn't duplicate. It did not. Command J, there it did. And now I move this over here. Now I've got all my candles right there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to put all of these in one group. Candles, mantle. Now, if I want to adjust the opacity of that group by itself, I can bring that down a little bit. Now, if I want, I can come in here and put one blank layer and put large, low. And now I'm going to come back over here with that same color. And I'm just going to kind of come in here with a little bit of a larger glow. I'm going to change that to soft light. And that looks pretty good. You play with that however you like. Maybe I want to bring this. I'm going to move this actually outside of that layer because I still think maybe these are a little too bright. The candles on the mantle. You can play with that and see how you like it. There, that looks pretty good there. So I am good with that. That's looking really good. One of the first things that I also do the very top layer, I'm going to make a levels layer. I'm going to look at my histogram and make everything look good here. I can also lighten and darken this part. So maybe I want to bring the mids down a little bit. That's getting me a little closer to that Thomas Kincaid look. So one of the last things that I do is I'm going to jump over. Let me go back here. I've got an assets folder just so that I can remember what color I used. So I'm going to open this up. I already had this where I had candles. So you can save this layer. I've got some magic and stuff in here. I'm going to show you how to make magic in a second, but I have a color grade layer here. So I'm going to choose this color. I'm going to copy those letters right there and I'll tell you what those mean. I'm going to come back over here now to this and I'm going to add me a solid color and I'm going to double click here, or this is highlighted already. So I'm going to click Command V and put that hex code. And now I've got this warm color and I'm going to put it in color mode, but I'm going to turn the opacity down probably somewhere 7 or 8%. And that's giving me kind of a warmish look over the entire image. All right. So we got to put magic in this image. No problem. I'm going to take all my candles and my lantern. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to hit Command or Control G, and I'm going to put candles and lantern. Right. My candles and lantern. I'm going to turn those off just so you can see what they do. Right. So underneath or above that, I'm going to make me a blank. I'm going to add me a color layer. I'm going to go solid color because now we're going to make magic. Now my magic color is FFD 700. That's a gold color. Now I don't want the whole image that way. So I'm going to select the mask and I'm going to invert it. Command I. Now it's black. All right. So now what I do with my pen, this is a lot easier with a pen than it is a mouse. At 100%, I'm going to take magic from Santa's hand and I'm going to make it here kind of flowing under the sled. That's a pretty good shape for magic. Now I'm going to hit X because I've got a mask on there and I'm going to shape this magic. I'm going to bring it more to a point here. Pretty good right there. I'm going to worry about the opacity of this color in a little bit. Now I'm going to add me another blank layer and I'm going to call this small magic. Then I'm going to take a brush I created called small magic. Where's my small magic brush? Small magic right here. And I'm just going to click and drag. I'm just going to paint everywhere. I'm not worried about going outside the magic. I just want lots of that. Now I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to select medium magic. Come back over here, do me another layer. I'm going to call that medium magic. Now I'm going to drag that. I'm going to adjust with the brackets, the brush a little bit smaller. I'm just clicking and dragging because I've got this set to scatter. I don't like that. I'll just hit undo. I don't like that. I'm going to go right along in here. That's pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to do one more. This is going to be large magic. Right, now I'm going to jump back over to my brushes. I have a large magic brush. Let's see, where is my large? It'll probably do the scatter. I don't think I've got my large. Oh, there's my large magic right there. And I'm going to come right where his hand is and click right there. If that's too small, I'll make it bigger. Right there. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all 4 of these magic layers. I'm going to select them all. You guessed it. I'm going to put them in a group and I'm going to call that magic. Then I'm going to put a mask on it because now I can select one of my regular brushes. First I'm going to do is, to me, that gold is too bright. That's fine. I'm just going to reduce it a little bit. I don't do the blend mode on this. I like the magic to be a little bit hazy, but now my magic is kind of outside the line. So with my black brush on top of the group on that mask, now I'm just going to come in here and erase the magic or where I don't want it. Kind of like giving it a haircut, giving it a trim. If I still think that magic is too bright, I can adjust the opacity of that gold layer. And now the magic is a little more subtle. Okay. So now the next thing is tree lights. So I need to figure out what color tree lights do I want. I think I have a tree lights folder right here and I have chosen the same color, FFD 700. No problem. So now we're going to come up here. We've got the magic where we want it. I'm going to select that magic group. We're going to add another layer called tree lights. Sorry, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to add it as a color, solid color. We're going to do FFD 700. Click OK. We're going to invert that. Okay. And we're going to call this tree lights. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put that in a group just because everything else is tree lights. Move on there. And I can do that one of two ways. I don't have to do that. But anyway, I've got it that way. Now I'm going to come back over here to my brushes. And I have a scatter brush called, you guessed it, MS Tree Brush. There's the scatter one. I'm going to pick this one. But I'm going to go ahead and I know that's at 79%. I'm going to move it to 100%. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to, with a white brush, drag and scatter lights on it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Trust me, I'm going all along this garland. Maybe I'll make a few smaller ones if I want. No big deal that it is all over the place. We want all over the place. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, because now what I can do, right? We've got the candle over the top of Santa. We've got the tree lights over the top of Santa. No problem. Select the background layer. Go select subject. Now I've got my people and everything selected. I'm going to go to my tree lights. I'm going to go back to a black brush at 100%. Now what I can do is I can paint anywhere. Oh, sorry. Let's see. I've got to do two steps. I'm going to paint on my people with a black brush, and you see the tree lights disappear off of them. I still have candle light on top of my kids. So I'm going to come over here to my candles. I'm going to hit Command D because I forgot to add something. No big deal. I'm going to select my candles and lantern folder. I'm going to add a mask to it. Now I'm going to go back over here and select my subject. And we're getting close to being done here. And I promise you, it doesn't take this long once you've done this a few times, because I've got all of these assets already built. They're already built on my assets tab, but I wanted to show you how I built them. So now I'm going to go back to my candles layer. I'm going to use a black brush and watch when I paint over them, I picked the wrong brush. There we go. See, brushes, I need this brush, not a mixer brush. I need my soft round brush right here. There we go. Now when I paint over them, you see how the candle light disappears, and watch. Now the candle light disappears from Santa, but it's still behind him, right? And the tree lights aren't, but now we've got tree lights that are not over trees. So I go back to that mask and I paint with black to remove those tree lights wherever I don't want them. We don't want them up in here. We're getting very close to being done with this image. Perfect. You got the tree lights off. If you don't like those tree lights that bright, that's fine. You can just adjust that layer. You can select that and you can bring that opacity down where those tree lights are a little more subtle. That's totally up to you. All right. So that is how we do the behind the scenes. If you want, you could do another curves layer up here on top. Let me see. What is this large flow? Okay. That large flow needs to go with the candles. I've got it right here. I'm going to read. Yeah, there we go. Now, if I wanted, I could put a curves layer on top of this, bring this down a little bit. There's many different ways you can do that. And then I could remove it. So this is really more creating a vignette. Got my black brush. And we're going to remove that from there. Move it here. I don't like the darkness around that fireplace. Let's see if we can remove some of that darkness. I want to brighten that fireplace a little bit. That's not bright enough. So I'm going to take my lighten, fine tuning, come over here. Now I've got a little bit brighter fireplace, right? Because the fireplace would be brighter. And what you have here is our final sled image. Make sure the darken is off of Santa up here on top of his head. This is just me fine tuning it. Maybe I want to lighten him just a touch up here. There we go. And that right there is our flying sled image. That's how we do it. Okay, so let me just cover a couple of other things with you. For Magic of Santa, each year we do a Magic of Santa boot camp. And I know that it'll be sponsored by Evoto as well. We've got other vendors that are very heavily involved, from H&H, Tog Drop, or H&H Color Lab, Tog Drop. My backgrounds are available through Background Town. These will be released sometime next spring, the ones that you see here. And ours is a physical set that we build, but then I photograph it and we make it available for you to use as a background. All of our previous year's sets are on Background Town. But let me tell you a little bit about our Magic of Santa boot camp, and let me pull that. So our Magic of Santa boot camp is every July, like I said. You go to magicmakersacademy.com. We're working on a new site, so bear with us. But here you've got our Magic of Santa boot camp is normally $24.95. And like I said, this covers every aspect of the Santa business. It also includes one of our album template collection, which gets you the album. It gets you the Christmas card template, the ornament template, the double-sided print template. You get our actions. You get our Lightroom action, our Evoto action, our Photoshop action. Plus, we spend every Wednesday evening covering every aspect of it, and it's live streamed and recorded. We do a demo where we have clients in the studio, models. We have Santa in there. We interview Santa. You watch us do a live session. We teach you everything. It also includes a full posing guide of over 40 poses that we do with Santa and how you get the kids to do those. So if you use the code Evoto 1200 off, so you get $1,200 off the workshop. And I think that ends Christmas Day, but we may extend that to New Year's Day. If the code works, let us know. We only have 6 of those that are available. And I know we sold 2 of them when we did the live stream. So take advantage of that. We've got other classes and things that we're starting. We've got our Making the Master with a group mentor and one-on-one mentor, where we create an image each month. As a group, we do a couple of Zooms, and then you get 2 one-on-one Zooms with me to really take the image that you are assigned to go back and make, or that you choose to make, and you edit it. Then I come back and help you with critiquing it and teaching you techniques that we use in all of our award-winning children's fine art images. Okay. So I know that was a lot to take in. You can always pause. You can always watch it later, come back and rewind. So I hope you got something out of this, but the main thing is I hope you saw also how Evoto plays a huge part in our business. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Shoot me a message on Facebook, shoot me a friend request, or an email at magic@magicmakerstudio.com. All right. Take care. And one last look at our final image, the iconic sled image. All right. Thanks, everyone.